So it says we're live, and we're on the air, and I've still got Chris Maxwell. Hold on. All right, everybody knows, and we don't have anybody here yet. Let me see. Where's the chat? There it is. Let me pop it out. Don't see anybody in the chat. Oh, wait. Yeah, there is. Golly, man. You think these people were waiting on it or something. Anyway, in today's interview, we have for your enjoyment and pleasure, Mr. Chris Riley. We didn't take him out of the basement. He's in his basement. So we keep him there. So without further ado, I'm going to pop up Mr. Chris Riley. There you are, sir.
Here I am.
And he's already eaten supper, folks. So that's messed up because I haven't yet. So, all right, Chris, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. How about yourself?
I am good. I've been sweating this interview though, man.
Oh,
trying to come up with questions that would just make you cry.
Well, a lot of people probably already know all the answers, so we'll just.
I know, and that's
what
what's
all the highlights.
That's the toughest thing, because you're kind of like me. You don't give a shit. You just put it out there. But there are a few people here. You know, I don't know if you have the chat up on the window or what. But
yep, I'll watch chat here.
I don't know if can I turn off the spatial sound. I just want regular Windows sound. Oh wait, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh no, I can't hear you. I turned off my. Hold on. Dolby Atmos. Oh, I'm trying to turn on the dadgum speakers without spatial sound. All right, can I hear you now?
I'm still here.
No, I cannot hear you.
No.
We should have had. I should have got these bugs out of here before. I have nothing. Hold on. Everything's on my end, but I've got nothing. God dang it.
I can still hear you.
That's what happens when you do stuff. Volume 36%. Okay, I've got volume, but I have nothing from you. So hold on one second. I think because I changed the setting, it knocked me out of them on here. No. Try it now.
How about now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. And
You
I can't hear me. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, cool. A while ago, it was me talking, and it would just echo blah, 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 blah in my head. So it was really, really bad. Okay, so we've got a few folks in here. I don't know how many. I can't really tell how many. Peak concurrence 12. So I'm assuming that we have about 12 folks in here watching this interview. So we're going to jump right into it. Let's get the standard. Let's get the standard stuff out of the way, okay?
All right.
You know, your age, your eyesight, your shoe size, you know, that type of thing. So, well, let's just start with your age. How old are you, Chris?
I am 36.
36 years old. Oh my God, I remember those days. Oh, I do. Seems like it was like 10 years ago. But there's Glenn from Fun King coming here. But really, you know, you're a young guy. You really are. 36 is not that old. I know it feels that way to you, but it's not. Believe me, it's coming. So, you know, you do a lot of tinkering. You don't just do 3D printing. You do other things as well, tinkering and that type of stuff. How far back can you remember being a tinkerer? You know, because I remember in my childhood, I got a Knight Rider car, and I took it apart. Like the second day I had it, I took it apart to see how it worked. You know, got my butt whooped for it. You know.
Yeah, the furthest back, I mean, I was like 3. And for some reason, I got it in my mind that I was going to take all the bolts out of one of the lawn chairs in the yard, but just enough so it still stood. And then somebody come and sat down in it and fell down. So that's as far back as I can. I've always been messing with stuff and, you know, hurting myself, but learning a lesson at the same time. So yeah, but as long as I can remember, I've always messed with something.
Yeah, and I guess that's everybody, kind of everybody in this community. Some people got it late in life, but most have been doing it their whole life.
Yeah.
All right, so how much stuff do you actually sit down and come up with yourself? Like just design stuff and say, hey, I want to make something that does this. And not really like Fusion 360. I'm talking about just, you know, nuts and bolts and going, hey, I've got these parts. Let me see what I can put together with it. How much of that do you do? And I know you don't have a lot of time with YouTube and stuff like that you do, but how much of that do you do?
As much as I can, basically. So anything that I can build rather than buy, I would sooner build it. But a lot of like electronic components and things like that, if there's no, a lot of times I need something that functions that is either part of something else, like you could go buy this, but it would already be included in with some other thing. So like transistors and switches and things like that, I build all of that kind of stuff by hand. So I do a little bit of that. But that's kind of how 3D printing started. I was drawing a lot and trying to fix situations with a prefab part. But even before that, I was machining parts. You know, like I was doing about 10, 12 years ago, I was doing die cutting creation. So like for hole punches and things like that, I'd actually mill out the steel and make my own dies and things like that. So I make as much stuff as I can. I just build it from scratch usually, whether it be steel or wood or welding or whatever it might be. And
I mean, have you ever thought of putting that type of stuff into Chris's Basement content?
I have. It's so like the printing shelf, you know, I put it's just a basic shelf, but I put slides on it and things like that, trying to make it a little more convenient for printing. I built that from scratch, and I had every intent on, in fact, I created the videos on how to build it, but it was so hard to do and accurately document it and build it at the same time. I'm not set up to document and video things like that as well as I can, you know, just the stuff around the table. If I had better equipment and maybe someone to help or something like that, I would totally do the larger projects that I do. But I don't have the means to do them at the moment.
Yeah, no, I get you. I mean, especially space and stuff like that. It's really hard to do stuff like, I mean, unless you're like making a rotating shelf that holds your printer so that they'll come around when they're done and you can take, you know, I mean, some cool crap like that. But okay. All right. So you've been tinkering, you know, pretty much your whole life, just like every other person that delves into this stuff does. So you're a mechanically inclined guy. We know that from your content. You know, we know that, you know, you're smart as hell because we see that. You know, you didn't go to college, did you?
I did not complete college. I went to some, but I did not. I do not have a degree. No.
Right. So, what do you do as a day job that, you know? Because I'm not going to say most people do, you know, computers or whatever that do this, but I've noticed a lot of HVAC, electricians, you know, artists, and then computer guys that you know, IT or that type of field. That's a lot of these guys, you know, that do this type of stuff.
Yeah.
So
my professional background, other than, you know, jobs when I started working, and I've had some lapses in my career because, you know, IT isn't always the most stable thing, as you know. But so I've taken a few breaks and done a few other things over the years, but mostly it's all been IT. But I've kind of been over the whole, I guess, technology industry. So I've gone from like hanging magnet tape and mounting cartridges to running impact printers, and then I worked on like 3174s, so like mainframe interconnectivity, and I ran bus and tag cable, and then I went over to the storage side, and I worked on NAS and SAN devices for a while, and now I'm actually a mainframe system programmer. I work on ZOS and VSE, but mostly I install like big iron hardware. So like when we upgrade CPUs all over the country and things like that, I kind of plan that out and determine, you know, how the config is going to look and things like that. So it's been IT pretty much end to end. It's been good to me. So I just kind of stick with it.
But now, yeah, you've done the IT thing, but we've had the talk, and I mean, you kind of grew up like me though, where if you didn't fix it, you didn't have it.
Right.
So it's basically been, you know, jack of all trades, master of none. I mean, you've had a focus, but if it broke around the house, you had to fix it yourself. So
right.
Go ahead.
No, you know, there's a lot of weekends where you have to work on the car all weekend so you can get to work next week. I've had a few of those years.
Yeah, no, I get it. So I mean, just basic all around though, you know, you've had your hands in everything, but been kind of focused career wise on the IT side of stuff.
Yeah,
cool, man. All right, so thinking back, what was and I know this is a difficult question because I can't even answer this question. So, what was the first 3D printer that you remember seeing?
I believe it was the original MakerBot. I saw it in a Micro Center sometime in the late 2000s, maybe. I don't remember exactly when it was. It's been more than 10 years, I can tell you that. I think that's what that machine was. I remember it was like $3,300 or $3,500 or something like that. It was slow as you've ever seen. And it just spit out like the little Android robot. It would just spit out that all day long. And there was like a bin of them there that none of them really looked all that great, but you could have one for free. Right. And I'd stand there and watch it for hours if they'd let me. But that's in a Micro Center. That's the first time I'd ever seen one. Okay.
So, I mean, was it love at first sight, you know, where you're like, oh my God?
Well, it was always one of those things that was kind of, it always seemed unreachable. I had no idea what the capacity, what it took to 3D print at that time, especially how early that was in the hobby 3D industry. I think if I would have gotten into it then, had the money to get into it then, I probably would have quit because it was way more work than it was worth. Plus, you know, in my 20s, I probably didn't have the patience that I do for it now. Yeah, I mean, it was very impressive, but it seemed like it just took so much work and it took so long to get anywhere that it wasn't viable whatsoever.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, well, it's a gadget thing now. You know, I'm sure it'll get better, but I thought it was really cool that you could generate the models and stuff and, you know, hold something in your hand. But it was just too far out of my grasp to even really care about it at that time.
All right. I do want to say right now, since we're about 15 minutes into this, guys, if y'all have questions for Chris, we have the Discord server, okay, that you can pop over onto, and maybe one of the moderators that I have in here can grab that out of the description and paste it for you to click, because you can actually do it on the web. You don't have to actually have the app. I wasn't clear in that before, but we have a interview channels room where you can go in and you can post questions written, or you can get in the queue to ask Chris yourself live, because this is going to be a live call-in show where you can ask Chris your own questions. So, anyway, all right. So now we've got that. That was the first one you saw. And how long ago would you guess that is that you saw that first MakerBot?
I'm trying to think. It almost had to have been 2005 or 6, maybe a little later than that. But I really honestly couldn't tell you when that was. That date even seems a little early. But it's somewhere around there.
Okay. Hold on. I have to try to get out here and paste this Discord link, because apparently it's not in the description like it should be. So give me just 1 second, Chris. I'm sorry. I guess I could ask you the next question. You could be answering that.
That's fine.
Okay. The first 3D printer that you purchased. Mm-hmm. Okay. I want to know the name. You know, was it a kit? When was it? You know, that type of thing. And what made you buy that printer? Okay.
So that's kind of my, that's my go-to story of how I got involved in this whole thing. So, and probably a lot of people have heard this before. So Colin makes stuff. I've known Colin for 23 years or something, a long time since we were kids. And he had a 3D printer. And I want to say it was like the Dremel, the Dremel printer, whatever that was.
Yeah.
The one you could get at like Home Depot there for a while or whatever it was. So,
right.
But he had one of those. And he said, you really need a 3D printer because, you know, he knowing the kind of guy I am. And I was really involved in something else at that time because I kind of just jumped from one thing to another. So I was like, yeah, you know, that's cool and everything, but not really interested. And it really didn't click with me what he was doing at that time. I didn't go over there and see it for a while. And I didn't really put the whole thing together until one day I said, well, I need one of these and it's going to be really hard to build. So maybe I can draw it and he can print it out. And that worked out with the limited knowledge that I had at that time of, you know, you have to have support material to do this and you have to, all the conditions that you had to meet for 3D printing. I didn't have a lot of that knowledge, but he took over from there. And I ended up with a part of some type, whatever part it was. And then I was like, well, that's pretty cool. You know, I mean, you can do a lot of stuff here. You know, you can fab a lot of different things, and, you know, and then prototype and then go from there. So I thought, well, that might be worth it. So Colin and I both bought G-Tech Pro Bs. They were like $225 for the kit, and there were 80 some odd bags of parts and screws. And they're acrylic, and I still got it over there somewhere. I don't know that it still works, but and that was in early 2016, maybe, I think. And we spent a weekend putting them together. Like I spent 15 hours all in one day, not unlike what I do now, trying to get this thing to work. And eventually we got them down to they were working pretty good. And then it was just full on from there. It was gas pedal all the way to the floor. Then I had another one and another one. And I think I had 4 or 5 before I even got into YouTube. So it was just, yeah, that's just how it exploded.
Okay. Well, I mean, and the last part of that question was, do you still use that printer? And if you don't, I mean, have you thought about getting it back out just for, you know, shiggles and saying, hey, let's see if we can get this thing printing, or, you know?
Yeah. I got it out not too long, maybe 4 or 5 months ago, and it was because it has a knockoff BL touch sensor on it, and I wanted to compare it to a real one. And so I already had the mount and the offset and everything configured on it. So I just replaced it with the real one and just let it do all the testing for me. Right. So I did go back and use it. At this point, again, it's acrylic, and I've cracked a few pieces and printed out a few pieces and replaced it and stuff. At this point, it would probably be a great donor for another build.
I gotcha.
But as of right now, getting it out and trying to print something, I'd have to get pretty bored at this point.
Well, you know, I mean, you are making a lot of content for YouTube. I mean, yeah, it might be one of those that you go, okay, I'm going to need a video in a couple of years because I'm going to run out of things to do.
Well, and yet I always say, you know, I just keep collecting them because somebody's going to ask me a question sooner or later, and I won't remember what it looks like. That's already happened to me a couple of times. So
that's why our yard is full of sheds that are full of crap, because one of these days I'm going to need that stuff.
That's right. I never got so many questions about an A8 or an X1 until I gave them away.
Right. All right. So here's a question from Mr. Butterman in the Discord list that goes along with this. So I'm going to go ahead and ask this one. What was your first scratch built machine?
Yeah. So the only real true scratch built machine I've ever built is what I call log, and that is the Tom Dolly build. He did that live stream. There's like 6 or 7 in a row.
Right.
He spent every night putting that machine together. And I just kind of followed along with him and built it, and it turned out pretty good.
Yeah.
So, but that's really my only true scratch built machine.
Well, see, and that's, I mean, I've got a couple of scratch builds, so I didn't do the plywood route, but yeah. Before I knew all about the YouTube thing and stuff like that, I was scratch building stuff because I just wanted to see how it worked.
And scratch build is definitely the most fun. There's only a certain market for, I mean, being on YouTube and being a content creator, there's only a certain market for people that want to scratch build. But you guys are the most die hard by far. I mean, if somebody wants to scratch build, there's a ton of people in this chat right now would love for us to walk through a scratch build. Yeah. But that's a lot of time and dedication for me to walk through a scratch build.
It is. It really is. And I've got pieces of my scratch build machines, you know, because that was before I really even thought about putting anything on YouTube. I was basically filming it for myself. So if I screwed it up, then I screwed it up, you know. I mean, just, you know, and I did. I screwed up a lot of the video. And there's a lot of adult language in those videos. Because I wasn't doing it, you know, for content. I was doing it for my own edification. All right, so leads us right into the content question here. You spend a lot of time making content for your channel, a lot of time. Okay, Chris Riley is always in the basement. How do you balance that with your wifey time? Because y'all don't have any kids. It's just you and her. Yep. And, you know, I asked you to ask her to be on here tonight. She said, hell no. So she's not interested in the content creation thing of it. How interested is she in the 3D printing? I mean, does she even care about anything about it?
No, I mean, she thinks it's pretty cool. I mean, I don't know exactly what she thinks about it, but she thinks it's cool that things can be created. I think she works at an elementary school, so she's also kind of interested in the STEM part of it, you know, because sometimes we'll go to like craft fairs and stuff and bring printers and show kids what they are, you know, maybe schools that don't have 3D printers, just to get, because a lot of people, everybody that walks up to you goes, I've never seen one of these before, right? So it's just to get some interest out there. We'll do things like that occasionally, and she'll come with me to that. But she's interested in, I think, that aspect more of the technology learning part. But, you know, she gets, you know, 3D printed rings and, you know, knickknacks or what you know, whatever she might like, but not really interested in the whole 3D printing world.
So how do you I'm not going to say justify because it's not the right word, but how do you account for the amount of hours that you spend away from her doing content creation? I mean, you have to make those up at some time or another. You know what I mean? Yeah,
it's difficult. It's a difficult balance between more than a full-time job, content creation, and having any sort of social life or loved ones. But so, and some of you know this, but more than a decade ago, I was a somewhat functioning musician, and that took a lot more time than what I do now. So I've always kind of had something going that thinned my time out a lot. And this actually, since I can do this in whatever time that I can scrape together, I don't really have a lot of dates I have to meet. It goes a lot easier. I can do it in the evenings. I can get up really early in the morning. So it's easier to find little blocks of time to do the YouTube thing than it is some of the other hobbies that I've had over the years. So it works. She is very, I've said it before, but she's very understanding, and she supports me on this whole thing. Well, but it just takes the right type of people. I know a lot of people over the years that would not have tolerated this. So, well,
another question that we have in here, you actually mentioned it just now, was what hobbies do you have outside of YouTube and 3D printing? What I mean, you go fishing, you go hunting, you go, you know, race cars, ride motorcycles. What do you do?
Yeah, I'm kind of a one hobby. I stick with one thing at a time, but I've done just about all of them. I've always been into music and things like that. So I play the drums, the guitars, and stuff like that. I like to collect guitars. I used to spend a lot of time doing all that kind of stuff. But I used to race cars when I was younger. and that gets expensive really quick.
Oh yeah.
So I got out of that. But I kind of focus one at a time, and then, owning a home becomes a hobby in itself. So, you're always working on something that needs to be fixed or I remodeled this house. It's pretty much finished now, but that was a hobby that for a long time I built my own shed and things like that. So just, it kind of takes spurts. I've poured my own concrete. I did that for months. So it's just it's kind of one long-winded hobby. The 3D printing has lasted a while though. I'll have been on YouTube 3D printing for 1 year on the 22nd of June. So,
well, we Glenn and I talked about this, and we've talked about it a couple times, because I'm one of those. I'm like you. I'll grab a hobby, and I just go until you hit a wall in said hobby, and then you're like, okay, I've gone as far as I'm going to go in this hobby. Yeah. 3D printing, I haven't hit that wall because they're coming out with new innovations and new things that you can learn, and hell, I don't know half of what there is to know out there already. So I haven't gotten bored with this hobby yet.
Yeah, I'm the same way as far as 3D printing goes. Some aspects, the 3D printing, the entity of itself, I really enjoy. I'm a little over capacity. I will be the first to admit for how much 3D printing I can tolerate. But the YouTube 3D printing on YouTube is a completely different entity. Right. And there are a lot of days that I wish that I was just 3D printing instead of trying to 3D print for content. Right. But there's other days it's like, wow, this is really cool, and I can't wait to put it on the internet. So no, but for that question, 3D printing is still very interesting to me, and I still catch myself some days where you've got a perfect first layer and you just want to stand there and watch it for a while. Yeah.
Yeah. I still get that too. Yeah. I mean, we've got a few questions here and there all over the place, and I don't want to get them out of the way. Okay, so let me go up here. Rover actually had one. He said, Chris Riley, and it's in the chat. How many trade of services have you done other than the one y'all did, and what was traded for?
Ooh, that's an interesting question. I've done like handfuls of jobs just like for Rover. So I've got this logo and I need 15 of them. But it's usually, I don't know that I've ever accepted cash for one. I made a batch of fidget spinners for somebody one time. But it was Filament and a case of beer. Right. I mean, it was just something always on the side, but just a handful of times though. Nothing really major. Most of the time when I run into people, the whole fun is for them to create it. I haven't had any people just walk off the street and say, hey, I need this 3D printed, really. I always run into people that have a 3D printer. So.
Well, and I will say this, that, aside from Glenn, in the 3D printing community, I guess you would be my closest friend because I probably aggravate you on the phone more than anybody. But I mean, it really though, when I met you at Murph, I liked Chris Riley. I liked you before I met you at Murph, and I liked you after. So I just had to make you like me, and I'm still working on that.
Well, we got Irv coming up, so.
All right. Well, yeah, I'll work on that. Okay. All right. So I've got another question from the list here. What dream project can you currently not complete because of the limitations of available materials?
Yeah. Available materials, not so much. Space is the problem. And there are a lot of really large builds, 3D prints that I would like to do. I'm currently working on the largest build that I've ever done. I can see it out of the corner of my eye. And I don't know if it's going to complete because of the constraints that I have. So there are I would say there is a lot of builds that I would like to do, but it's just space. It comes down to space. hang printer is the biggest. It consumes more space than anything I've ever done. And I did manage to make it work, but it could be done so much better if you just had, 3 more foot of ceiling. So,
yeah.
But that's it. Always comes down to that.
Midnight Giant, who has not subscribed to my channel, by the way, kind of aggravated on that. He just said in the chat, large build, you say?
Yes, sir.
I actually gave my mother my largest print to date today, other than my printer, but that's put together. Because as you know, I have struggled with the TiVo Little Monster just a little bit. Yeah. But I printed a 14.5-inch tall. Oh, wow. Thank you, Midnight Giant. I appreciate you subscribing to my channel. But a 14-inch tall and, 10-inch around vase today. And I was so proud of myself. Okay. Enough of me. This is the Chris Riley interview.
Midnight Giant is an interesting fella. If there's a couple of people that do Midnight Giant, but I don't know which one that is. But one of them offered me some sort of beverage that was somewhat questionable at Murph. So seems to be a pretty cool guy.
Anybody that'll offer you smoking liquid is but you got to watch him because he'll offer you the liquid and then hit you with his stun axe.
Yeah, no kidding.
He said, yeah, that was him.
Yeah, okay.
All right, number 7 on my list. And let's see. Well, you covered, Martin asked, is the hang printer up and running and how are the prints from it?
Yeah, so it's running. It is printing. The print quality is better than you would think. It's the size limitations that are the problem. And it is really loud to run. So I can only run it during the day. So I go about 12, 14 hours a day, pause it, hope. This is the Midwest in thunderstorm season. So hope like hell that the power doesn't blip or something like that, and I ruin a print that's been going for hundreds of hours. So it's just, it's difficult. It's really difficult. And to tell you the truth, I've worked so much on it now, so many months in a row with both versions, I'm getting kind of tired of it. It's really starting to be taxing and expensive because you're burning 5-6 kilograms at a time. So it does work. Print quality is pretty good, but after I get these last couple of projects done on it, I think I will give it a rest for just a little while.
All right. Well, Robbie Mack has been waiting in the call list, and he's the only caller I got in here. So I'm going to say this now. If you're in the call list, I'm going to drag you into the private list, Robbie Mack, and I'm going to give you about 10 seconds before I do this. You need to mute YouTube because if not, it's really disconcerting because the Discord is a lot faster than the YouTube feed. So mute your sound. I'm going to give you 10 seconds. I'm going to ask Chris one of Mr. Buttrum's questions from over here, and then I will pull you in there, Robbie Mack. If money was no object, what printer would you build right now? What would you buy for Chris Riley's printer collection if money was no object?
Yeah, what would I build or would I buy?
No, buy.
Well, if I would buy one.
No, it says build. Okay, would be build, but I'd say buy or build. What printer would just blow your mind right now?
Yeah, I mean, if we were talking like you had all the money and the room, I'd go like Stratasys. I'd get one of the giant, Okay. But really, within arm's reach, I just kind of want an Ultimaker. Really, I'd love to have an Ultimaker 3. Because,
really, not the S5, the 3.
Well, yeah, I think S5 is even a little bit too high end for me. But so give me a pile of money and I'll go buy a printer, but still staying somewhat practical in the hobby industry. Yeah, I'd probably go get an Ultimaker just because it's kind of out of my reach. And if I was building something, it'd be anything with Highland rails.
Okay, well, and that's a question up here, and I did drag Robbie Mack. All right, Robbie Mack, we can hear you now. Hold on a second. And Miggy Man Mike said not a raise in 2.
Yeah, raise in 2 is not a bad choice. Not a bad choice.
So okay. All right, Robbie Mack, you're on, buddy. Let's see what your question is. Hello. Robbie Mac, we heard you cough. Now I can't hear you. Make sure you're not talking, Robbie Mac.
I heard something.
I heard something, but I'm not hearing anything from Robbie Mac. I'm not seeing anything on Discord over here either. Robbie Mac, can you hear me? I can't hear anything from Robbie Mac though.
I'm waiting.
Oh no, I just told you to ask your question.
Is there lag?
I don't know.
If you're talking country, I don't hear you.
Yeah, he can't hear me. Hold on. Okay, Robbie Mac, now you should be able to hear me. Ask your question, buddy.
Thanks for having me. A long-time listener, first-time caller. With all the builds that you've done, I am curious, and now I got to find my file because I wrote it down here. Like, what's your standard? Like, what should be included in a printer that you're going to use for your projects? Like standard Cartesian i3, Core XY Delta, multicolor or no, bed leveling, power zoom, enclosed, Wi-Fi, anything like that? Like, is there anything that's like it's absolutely got to have it?
Yeah. So, and that's a good question, and that changes all the time as the landscape changes. There's a lot of printers coming out now that have changed that playing field, really. But for a long time, renewable build surface, so something that's going to stand up for thousands of prints, that was a big thing. I mean, when it came out, or when we started to see them, not when it came out, but when we started to see them. So PEI sheets, Print and Z, Gecko Tech, all that stuff you have to have it. There's no way around it. And then auto bed leveling. I mean, my go-to machine right now is a Prusa MK2, and it just works. It's got a great board. They developed the software really well. It's not that expensive. I mean, as 3D printers go, PEI sheet is great. Their auto bed leveling and auto correction is awesome. And in this day and age, year and a half later, you can just build on top of that. So, I mean, power resume would be awesome. Filament sensor would be awesome. But, and those would be great Wi-Fi would be a great add-on. But for me, the way I use things and build projects, I have to have it level itself and work every time and not be difficult to pull things off or get things to stick. That's really the three basic things that I have to complete just the projects that I do.
Cool, man. And one thing I have to say is, and I apologize to Robbie Mac, I didn't tell him, whenever you get done asking your questions, get off and unmute YouTube because you won't be able to hear him back through Discord. I wasn't using push to talk like I should have to talk to Robbie. That's why he couldn't hear me saying, ask your question, man. So my fault. That's the second time, we're trying to work the kinks out of this thing. Yep. It's two different machines. I'm over here moving the mouse on the main machine and not wondering why it's not doing what I want it to on my laptop. So, all right. So my next question, okay, number 7 question from me. You have a few folks that you look up to in the 3D printing and making community that Chris Riley looks up to. Yep. Other than me, of course. Sure. Who's your favorite?
I'm a Tom guy. Tom is the man, and it's because of how he does things. And anybody that's been 3D printing for a while and has been around YouTube has seen some of Tom's stuff from 2015, 2016, where he was like looking at different teleprompters at different times in the videos, trying to translate stuff in his head to English. And they're really dry, but and somewhat robotic. But for some reason, even back then, before he was making the shiny 2016 content, I just really enjoyed it. I liked watching him. I liked the way he did things, and he's super technical. I like that. So I've been watching Tom for a long time, and I still really enjoy watching Tom and his content. I mean, you have to say his videos nowadays, especially, they are fabulous. I mean, the 4K and the way he shoots video, it's pretty impressive.
Okay, now that's your content creator. I'm talking about, who does Chris look up to for inspiration in the making community? Your favorite tinkerer guy. You told me this guy's name before, and I just want you to tell me about it.
Well, okay. Ben Heck is my favorite. He is. And he's only got a couple more shows left on YouTube. And I have to admit, if you're not a Ben Heck fan, or if you are a Ben Heck fan like me, some of the Ben Heck videos just go way over my head. He gets into like 20 minutes of soldering Atari 2600 chips, and I can't watch it. I mean, it's just too much.
Right.
But the funny things that they do, and the terrible acting, and trying to integrate it into projects that would otherwise be pretty much boring. I love watching Ben Heck. I really do. He's kind of my idol. If I could have somebody's job other than being a Mythbuster, I would want to be Ben Heck.
Chris always wanted to be a Mythbuster, didn't you, man?
I always wanted to be Mythbuster.
Me too, man. Every episode, I'm like, dude, I could have done that. I really should have been on TV.
Best job ever.
Yeah, Mega Man Mike said I should borrow your Stream Deck and set it up as a switchboard, but I have a Stream Deck. It doesn't work that way, Mega Man Mike. It doesn't link two PCs together, which is what I have to do the call-in thing. So that wouldn't work. All right, so here's Mega Man's Mike question: what if you could be Ben Heck as a Mythbuster?
Oh man. I don't know that that's actually possible in life. I think if Ben Heck was a Mythbuster, or if I was Ben Heck as a Mythbuster, something would just explode. Like atoms splitting, world divides, dogs and cats living together.
Right. Well, Mega Man Mike just volunteered to buy me a second Elgato Stream Deck so I could use it that way. So I saw that. That's it. I'll get you one. Okay, Matt from How I Do It, Flinchball on here, has a great question for Chris Riley. When is Chris Riley getting on Twitter?
Yeah.
Because there's another Chris Riley that 3D prints that's on Twitter.
Yeah. And I think it's the same person, but they sent me a message and said I had a cool name. And I said, well, back at you. And I don't remember what the conversation went after that, but he seems to be a pretty nice guy.
But somebody posted, hey, it was JT. JT said, hey, Chris Riley's on Twitter. And I'm like, oh, crap, about pissed my pants. And I go over and there's some other guy, and I'm like, oh.
I'm not ruling out that someday I will not be on Twitter. I mean, at some point, I'll probably be on Twitter.
Okay, because Matt did say you were sidetracking the answer, dude. Matt said you're sidetracking. Come on, quit. You just go straight for it.
Yeah. I haven't built up the courage to be on Twitter yet, but I might get to it. We'll see.
Oh, Martin's got a great name for you too. The at real Chris Riley. That would be awesome. So yeah. All right. I've got a couple more questions, and guys aren't really filling up the questions because Martin's typing down, but one reason that it's hard to come up with questions for Chris Riley is because Chris Riley's open. You talk about things on your streams. You do that. So, All right. So Ben Craig just jumped in, and I've got two more questions, but they can come later. What is the longest print you've ever attempted, and was it successful?
Longest that I've ever attempted. Currently, to date, 96 hours is my longest print, and that's the Yoda back there that's like 20 inches high. It was successful. It took out right at one roll of filament. Now, I have attempted many prints, very large prints, that were not successful. I have attempted a Benchy that was 600 millimeters long. It did not make it. I have attempted 2 Moon Cities, one Death Star and one regular, that were bigger than a basketball. Neither one of them made it. I am currently working on the largest print that I have ever printed. I am over a week in, and I'm only half done.
Wow.
So we don't know if it's been successful yet. So we'll see. We'll see if I can pull it off.
All right. Well, Mitch 3D asked a question on there. I'm gonna let you know. You can read it and see if you want to answer that or not.
What's my ideal first date?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anything with a person that has a printer on their back.
I hear you. All right. So Martin had a question over here, and Matt asked almost an identical question on the chat, and that's okay. Another question: when is Chris, not on Twitter, going to at least come on the Friday 3D printing channel hangout?
Yeah, we talked about me being on that hangout, and I would gladly join you on that hangout. I think where we left that is Glenn sent me some info that was on a Facebook page, and I'm not on Facebook. Right. So that's where the interconnect got stopped. And there
well, I'll tell you what, man. I may not be here, but I can send you if Matt's okay with it, and you do it, and Glenn and those guys, if they're okay with it, I can send you the permalink. Okay, so when they're on, it's a Google permalink that, and I know you don't do Facebook. I would much rather you be on Twitter, okay, than on Facebook. Okay, so yes. Sweet. John Mack said no Facebook, no Twitter. Are you on AOL?
No, I'm not.
But I mean, we can get you. There you go. There you go. Right there. You see the link right there, the email for F3D. Copy that, and I know you can do that. Copy that and save it. That way you can do that with the Matt and those guys can hook you up with that link, because it's really great to be on there. It really is. I didn't get to get on this last Friday because I was driving, and I got to watch most of it. And John told me to get on there, but there were so many people, and I was like, I don't really need to be there. Plus, I hadn't seen my wife in 2 days, so I'm going to have a Friday night hangout with her. So
yes, that's kind of how I feel. So if there's ever a lull in the guest participants, I can jump on there.
All right, so Martin probably asked in Discord the best question from this galaxy and a galaxy far, far away: Star Trek or Star Wars or both?
I am not a big media person. I don't watch a lot of movies. I don't watch a lot of TV. I would say if I had to pick, I'd probably go Star Wars, because me and Chewbacca are like this. But Star Trek was, I remember watching Star Trek when I was very young, the original series reruns, and I thought it was the worst show ever. Now it's actually somewhat comical to go back and watch it. But so if I had to pick, though, it'd be definitely Star Wars over Star Trek.
Okay, cool. I am the other way. I don't have a preference.
Yep.
There's so much more canon in the Star Trek universe than there is in the Star Wars universe. It's just, plus it's Earth-based. So, all right, my question, and this is a little more out there, because you've done the log printer. You created a dolly. Have you ever, or are you thinking of now, designing your own 3D printer? Combining, Core XY and Cartesia or something, have you got some design in your head that you would love to just say, okay, I want to try to build this?
Yeah. And I've kicked it around, and I've put it down on napkins and stuff a couple of times now. Going to Murph really kind of changed things, and seeing what everyone was doing, and your printer is very interesting, and that Luke young man that took the X1 and made it like 400 millimeters long, and there were so many projects like hack projects, like that they would take somebody's design and then make it into what they needed, and which is so cool to see. I love that kind of thing. But really, what has changed my view on building a printer or a machine is the E3D tool changer. And Sanjay actually took the time and went through the whole thing and showed me for like 10 minutes, his dial gauge and how it worked and how accurate it could be placed. And now, so my view on creating a printer from scratch has kind of changed. But I would really like to do it, but I always struggle with building a machine like that because there are so many good machines for a nominal cost that you could get a ton of money wrapped up in one and might not come out with a machine that was as good.
Right.
So it would really take me a long time to sit down, plan it out, get exactly what I needed at the right price point, and then come out with a product that I would actually use that would be somewhat beneficial.
Sweet.
It's easier said than done.
All right. That was a great answer. Guys, if y'all got any questions, drop over into the questions queue, and we'll put you on the air for that. And if any other things, like I said, I know it's hard to come up with questions. I had to sit down and think pretty hard to come up with pointed questions that were relevant for Chris Riley. You know, I could ask him other things, but they would not be asked on this channel. All right. So it's my final question. I'm gonna. There's another thing that I'm gonna go into here. My final question for you: what do you, in your lifetime, what do you want to see is the outcome of the advancements that are being made? Not what do you want to see on a printer? What do you want the end game of Chris's lifetime? Because you're 36 now. So let's hope you get another 40, 45 years at least. In 40, 45 years, what do you want this to lead into? What do you want 3D printing to become?
Yeah, that's a tough question for me. There's something inside me that doesn't like it when things get easier. So when I see new features on printers and things actually getting better for maybe a less advanced user or a beginner to start using the printer, sometimes it leaves a bad taste in my mouth. It's like, wow, man, it for some reason I think you're losing knowledge because you made it easier, when you shouldn't think that way, right? But it seems like if I struggle, then it should be hard. But then you get over it, and you think, well, maybe we can get to a spot where people can do this. World economies and things like that aside, what I would really like to see is that you buy this device that is this big. It probably says Toastmaster on it or whatever. And it sets in the dining room, and you break apart on your rolly chair, and you open the catalog, and you punch in this number, open a catalog. Listen to how old I sound. So you
Sears and Roebuck.
Yeah. The yellow pages. And
right.
You find the number, you click through your menu. It's like, I need that. Amazon doesn't show up anymore. It prints it out, and you slap it on there, and you're good to go. That's where I would really like to see things go. And I think that has been the intent of a lot of companies over the years. But we have to get over this whole profitability and outsourcing and parts and things like that to make that actually a viable solution. That's what I would like to see it go.
So basically, we need a Star Trek economy where money's not really necessary,
right?
And material is not an object that's in the way. So this machine can do metal, or it can do plastic, or it can some combination of them.
Right, and within 40 years too, you have to think that. I mean, right now we think of things as different materials for a certain purpose. But if you look back in history, things have started to combine. And I think that will continue. So we were steel and brass and copper, and plastic came on the scene. But now we're kind of getting into carbon fiber and these other space age types of things. Well, it's only going to get further. So maybe 40 years from now, you don't have to have steel bearings. You have carbon fiber, graphite, greased, whatever they might. They're going to come out with some crazy stuff. But that whole being able to make something out of a certain type of material might come into like a couple of materials where there's hundreds now. So, it's all futuristic stuff, but
yeah. See, and I'm the exact opposite. I love it getting easier. I do, because I'm looking for that day where we can say I want a steak and hit a button and there it materializes. I'm waiting for that day, dude. I'm not gonna lie. And I hope, and somebody said, in 45 years we'll have Star Trek replicators. I hope so. I was so excited. I don't know if y'all remember or not, but a few years ago when they said they teleported, an electron or whatever it was from one place to another, I was blown away. I'm like, that's just cool. But then you think of The Fly, the movie The Fly, and you're like, yeah, no, that's going to suck.
Well, we always struggle. It's not if we can, it's if we should. And that's going to be one of the hurdles that we have to jump over.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, so I don't have any more questions for Chris Riley in here. Yeah, I do. Mr. Buttram has one here. What is your favorite practical print that you've ever done?
My favorite practical print that I've ever done is the simplest print that I've ever done. And I will tell that to anybody that ever asked me. I needed a gasket for my garden hose, and I went and pulled out the flexible filament. I printed 10 of them up. I still got a couple of them in the drawer, and they work perfect. They've even got the little tab keepers on them. But I was so impressed that I slapped it in there, screwed it down. It stopped spraying me with water, and I was giddy for weeks that actually worked. I'm still using the first one that I ever put in one of these hoses. It just worked. So that's my favorite one so far.
Dude, I am so glad that you said that, because I've got a couple of hoses right here that could use those, and I'm having, and I have some.
Colin was there when I did that. He's my witness. I was so happy with that.
Amazing. He said it was amazing. So I have a few hoses that could use that. Okay, Robbie Mack dropped back in here. Hold on one second. Let me pop over here to this Discord so I can do this. Hey, Robbie Mack, you're on the air, buddy.
Long-time listener, first-time caller. The E3D toolhead kit is interesting to say the least. They mention multiple materials, even manufacturing assembly toolheads. One thing that I look at is that you could use the metal filament that they showcased at Murph to kind of integrate wiring and circuitry and small prints or something, or possibly mixing flexibles with rigid materials. But is there anything that you imagine, like you were instantly, oh man, I could do this with such a system?
Yeah, quite honestly, I'm still blown away by the whole tool changing thing. That opens up so many doors to be able to, especially to be able to grab them, while they're not in use and change things out, and be able to move that fluidly within a 3D printing environment. I haven't really even had time to sit down and think about what would you do if you had that capability. Definitely. I mean, the first thing I would go to would be flexibles, living hinges, things like that you could do all in one print. But yeah, like you're saying with the circuitry or, with metal or anything like that, I mean, you could create PCBs. You could, at that point, if you had a design like that where it was that flexible, then you would be in the position of you had a fix, but you didn't have a problem yet. And I find myself in that situation a lot. I'm just looking for a problem to solve. But yeah, again, my mind is still blown by the whole thing. So I really haven't even gotten to that far yet. But I'm ready. I'm ready.
All right. Well, he stepped out. I didn't know if he had any other questions. Oh, we got an airplane. Was that on your end? Really? An airplane?
That is a hang printer making a huge move. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I can see why you only run that in the daytime.
Oh man, I'm getting kind of tired of it.
Okay, so oh, sorry. Robbie said we caught him off guard that time. He was kind of slow. Okay, so Mickey Man Mike's statement there, for PCBs, milling head would be far more practical, but you could also have a pick and place head. So between the printing, milling, and placement aspects, you will have a full prototyping system. And that's one thing I thought about is, because we have the mostly printed CNC, we have 3D printing, We have, you know, the sintering stuff that they're doing with metal now. That's basically a SLA style printer that's with metal instead, that uses that powder or whatever.
Right.
So a combination of things of that nature all into one machine would be awesome. I mean, just awesome. Or, because I've thought of this, and I know many other people have too, or a more CNC style 3D printer that can rotate your part, you know, while you're 3D printing it, instead of just like FDM or even SLA where you're doing slice by slice, where you start maybe on a platform, but you rotate to build that. Yeah, the fourth axis. There you go. Miggy Man Mike's got it right. So you have a fourth axis on a 3D printer. I don't know how you would do that. I don't know how you would have a seat or anything like that, but I just think that would be so cool to watch, you know?
Oh yeah. I mean, that stuff would be amazing. And I think that we have the capability as the community that we are. You think about all of the people that are creating things amazing, just that we know about. You know, I'm sure there's stuff that we don't even know about yet. But companies like E3D and Trinamic, and that create stuff. And Trinamic doesn't create stuff exactly for us, but they create some pretty awesome parts, you know, that we integrate into our hobby. We have the capability to do all this. It's just finding people that can help us mainstream it. There are great projects out there that I work on, that I participate in forums and try to help with as best I can, but it's really hard to get them off the ground.
Right.
And getting enough people interested, or again, finding a problem for this solution. Yeah. Prusa has done a great job at creating the company that he has and doing what he's done at the price point that he is doing it. But Prusa, I think a lot of it was right place, right time for him. And he's done a hell of a thing, but that's a hard thing to accomplish. Right.
Yeah, and it really strikes me because really and truthfully, I don't even understand how the company is profitable other than just sheer volume of printers. Because for the part, you can't buy the parts of this printer and put it together for the price that he sells it for. I can't, you know, and I know he gets a little, you know, cut because he buys in quantity and in bulk, but there's a lot of high dollar pieces that are on this, not knockoff stuff. You know, I can go in and buy knockoffs and build it for the price, but yeah, he's in it for more than just the money right now. You know what I mean? And that's one reason I don't mind spending the money on that printer, because do I need it? I've said it before. No, I don't need that printer, you know, but the stuff that they do to advance printing, you know, and I watched Joel's video today where he talked to Prusa, where I think they're actually thinking about moving into the SLS DLP type, SLA type printing, you know, so I think that will advance that just as it has the Cartesian style, i3 style printers.
Yeah. You know, I've more than once have I sat down and tried to calculate what it might cost to build that machine. You can't do it. Yeah. I mean, if you have to buy all that stuff, you're right up against it. So I'm with you. I'm not sure how he makes the profit on it, but I know that the margin has to be pretty thin.
Right. Okay. So Robbie Mack just come in and said, this past Friday night, 3DP chat, there was discussion on collaboration. Have you done any collaboration projects, any pros or cons? So have you collaborated with anyone so far on your YouTube channel, other than having a guest on there to help build or whatever? Have you done any collaboration builds or anything like that?
No, I have not, and nothing to speak of. Rather than what you were saying, you know, but I would love to, and I would love to do builds like that, collaboration builds. Now I have some content lined up that is collaboration between a couple of channels, but it's not. We're not actually building anything. It's just kind of, you know, cameo type deals. But I would like to get into a collaboration build. And Glenn and I from Fun King 3D, we had talked about it, and with building a kit printer, and the problem is just lining it up, and that's always the problem. I would love to collab with a lot of different people It's so hard to get things lined up with everybody's schedule and time zone and world placement. So.
Right. So you want to say that now, or you want to save it for later?
I'll save that for later.
Okay. All right. Cool.
But I think we have a couple of things that should be interesting.
Okay. Yeah, I think we do. There are a few new people in here. You Do It John came in. NJ Printings come in. Guys, if y'all want to get on live, Rover will paste the Discord link. Rover, can you paste that again, please? You can get on Discord and you can actually talk to Chris live and ask him any questions you might have. Okay, any questions within reason. We're going to keep it nice and clean. My normal length of these is about 1 hour and 15 minutes. So if you don't have any more questions, I'm gonna ask Chris right now. Give us something we don't know. We know you were a musician. We've watched your music videos. You rocked out pretty good. That's not too bad. We know you do great and amazing things on here. And I've told you hundreds of times, even on private calls, how much I enjoy watching Chris Riley's videos because they're concise, to the point, and they don't go over my head, which is, pretty easy to do. It really does. I watch Xander Thinks Thursday and I get lost. I'm like, what the heck was that? So, I mean, it does. It really does. So, all right, Rover pasted the Discord link. We have where you can type your questions in here. We also have where you can get on here and talk if you like to. So, my favorite is auto-tune. Makes you okay. I'm not reading that, Mad Mike. Come on, man. All right, Mickey Man Mike has a question outside of this, and then we'll go back to that. Hey, Chris, what are your thoughts on Lars Ulrich?
I'm not a Lars fan. I have seen them quite a few times over the years, but I am not a Lars man.
Well, Mr. Buttram just posted over here. Okay, he's got 2 questions. I'm going to ask these because these are interesting questions from Mr. Buttram. All right. And if I have to be careful not to mispronounce his name into butt ram. But he might be that after I ask these questions. All right, Coke or Pepsi?
Coke.
You suck, Chris Riley. I hate you now.
I haven't had more than one soda in years. I swore off it a long, long time ago. It's either coffee, water, or beer. And that's it. Yeah. So, but I was a Coke drinker, yes.
Yeah. I was a sweet tea drinker, and now if I have tea, it's half and half because everybody makes it syrup now. And I'm a Pepsi guy. I grew up, I was the X generation, and the choice of a new generation was me and Pepsi. So that's what I got. So now, this next question, boxers or briefs?
Boxers all the way.
Oh, sweet. Yeah. Well, maybe you're like Ben Craig and you can wear a kilt.
I haven't seen it yet. I'm still waiting.
We want to see Chris Riley in a kilt.
Yeah, I tried to make the Ben kilt thing happen. I just couldn't push it through.
Dude, I've been trying. If you're not subscribed to Ben Craig, when he gets to 100, he's wearing a kilt. So there you go.
And Phone King, I'm White Castle's guy. I wish there was one closer to me.
Shut up, both of y'all.
Yeah, and Rover 3D drafting software. I started for 3D printing. I used CAD like way back in the day, like in high school, the original AutoCAD. And but with 3D printing. I started with 123D Design, the Autodesk, the free version, and I have dabbled in Tinkercad. I would like to get into Blender. I haven't got into it yet, and I'm getting a lot better in Fusion 360, but I'm just kind of carrying my knowledge over from other Autodesk stuff to Fusion 360. So pretty much the usual stuff that everybody else uses.
Right. Alien 3D just jumped in. Hey, man, if you want to jump into the Discord, you can ask him any questions you have for him live. I know you know how to do it because you were on there. When I made my slip up on the last end of my TiVo video and had to cut that out. So I don't know. Did I tell you about that, Chris? I didn't tell you about that, did I?
No.
When we did the volume 10 and I tried the new board and it didn't work and all that. Well, after I get off of my live streams, I go over to Discord and I talk to the guys for a little while. I forgot to mute my mic on the end of the video. So, in Discord, the language changes in Discord versus on YouTube. So I have to go back and shorten and take out the Patreon part of my video. Okay, so back to tell us something about Chris Riley we don't know. What is not it ain't got to be nothing, fancy or anything like that. Give us a little insight into Chris Riley.
Insights, I'll work on anything. I had a guy, I used to work with a guy a long time ago that he used to tell me that, I'd ride a tiger if you gave me $1, and I might, I might give it a shot. But as far as something interesting that nobody really knows unless you know me personally, for a couple of years, I worked in a tack and saddle. I did riveting and strapping, and I would tool hides and things like that as like a second job. And I delivered things to an Amish community. So I was really close to a handful of Amish families that we would trade leather with and work and things like that for. And I worked with another guy that owned a tack and saddle company. And I did that for quite a few years. And it was somewhat a profitable business. But that is definitely something a lot of people don't know. So the working with your hands and building things, I've done quite a few different types of media over the years.
Yeah. So Chris almost became Amish. Sweet.
Almost.
Well, okay, here we go. This is actually one I was going to ask Mr. Buttram. Okay, so you said earlier, that water and coffee and beer. So coffee, cream and sugar, I take it because, straight up, just black coffee.
Yep, stronger the better.
My man, you kind of, redeemed yourself from the White Castle comment earlier.
Excellent.
So, okay, but if you had your choice, what, not your go-to, what would be your go-to beer? What's your favorite beer, Chris?
My favorite beer is, it's probably technically not beer, and they no longer make it. And that is Lowenbrow, and it is malt liquor.
Wow.
Yeah.
Chris going back, baby.
They don't make it anymore.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, wherever I go, I usually drink Miller Lite because it's easy to get. But there isn't any that I won't drink, really. I won't turn one down. But yeah, but really, though, that is the truth. My favorite beer of all time was.
So you didn't go from Lowenbrow to like Colt 45 or something?
No, I've dabbled in Colt 45 and Old English over the years. I used to drink Old Style quite often because it was cheap. Old Milwaukee. That's kind of, I still miss it. I wish I could still get it.
Wow. Yeah, I'm a Yuengling guy, straight up Yuengling. That
at Murph, that's the first time I've ever had Yuengling.
It's good beer. It just is. It's just good beer. Now, I think they had it in a can there, and it really wasn't. It's not that great out of a can, but I like that, and I like their black and tan that they have. The Yuengling black and tan. It's a thicker beer. It's great stuff. Now that everybody's friggin' tonight. Let it be Lowenbrow. I remember that commercial. Come on. Noah and Joshua are here. Noah and Joshua, I mean, if y'all have questions for Chris, y'all better throw them in here because we're pushing the limits of the extent of my interview. Oh, well, Filament Frenzy's jumped. We've got a couple more questions popped in over here. Okay, what's the most memorable thing you've ever created with your 3D printer? What's the one thing that Chris Riley goes, that's just freaking cool. I made that, and it's awesome.
That's a really good question, and I don't know.
I mean, do you still have your first print? I mean, your first completed 3D object that you printed, the first thing that came off your printer?
I was thinking about that the other day, and I don't think I do, and but I can't imagine I would get rid of it, but I don't know where it is.
I got you.
I do have one of the original prints though that I did, like maybe one of the first 3, and it was a human brain. I really like that one.
Yeah.
As far as like memorable things to print, man, I don't know. That's a really tough one.
Well, I mean, because you built a log printer, which that's just a throw together some junk and make some printer. I mean, you printed something on that. I mean, that type of stuff. So
yeah,
I get it. I mean, I still have, I think, my first print from my A-net. I'm not sure, but I think I do. But I'm with you on that. I don't really know what's the most memorable print.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I kind of got. Hey, so my 3D printing, it was kind of okay. Now I know how to 3D print, and then it went to 100 miles an hour. So there wasn't really. I got really into the machines themselves more than I did the craft of printing.
Right.
But I was also after like the quest for the perfect print. I was really into tuning and things like that. But it seems like the minute I got things printing like I wanted it to, it was all about mods. So I've printed more parts for a printer than I have anything else.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I got you. Noah and Joshua asked, do you know anything about Onshape? If so, use Onshape terms in your answer, but if not, that's fine. Do you have any tips for designing a nut and bolt?
Oh gosh. I don't know anything about Onshape, unfortunately. The only thing I can tell you is the McMaster car catalog is the greatest thing since sliced bread. So if you get an Fusion 360, you pull those models in, you can do whatever you want with it, and it makes life so much easier.
Oh, I can imagine. I can just imagine. Mr. Buttram has another question. He's just full of them tonight.
Wow.
What's your go-to filament? What's your favorite? Well, he says favorite. Let's do your go-to first. What is Chris Riley's go-to filament?
I'm a cheap guy. So whatever's cheap, I'll go with it. I use a lot of inland because I can get it nonstop, and it has been pretty consistent until recently, and they have changed some things. But you have to take into account too that I need a lot of the same color. So I hate it when I buy a couple of rolls and they say they're the same thing and they're completely different shades. That's really annoying. So I like to stick with a brand and then go with it. But as far as cheap stuff, I've got a roll, at least one roll, usually 5 rolls of pretty much everything. 3D Solutech, I just bought a bunch of that Filament Friday, the Chuck filament. Inland's good. I've bought a lot of Hatchbox over the years, E-Sun. So pretty much all the cheap ones. Now, if you want to get expensive, Protopasta has some really impressive colors.
Right.
Some of their filament, some of the colors they have are amazing. As far as the quality and the ease of use of their filament, I wouldn't say that it was any easier to use than any other filament, but I think it does stand up to temperature quite a bit better than other filament does. And then I've had some Filamentum over the years that a couple years ago I ordered a bunch from the UK. The Filamentum, I had some Prusa stuff, DOS filament, stuff like that. I just paid the shipping and went for it. But Filamentum has some really cool colors and some really great filament. I really like that stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I have to say that Vertigo Galaxy's pretty, but this Empire Galactic Purple, dude, that purple's my poison, so it's awesome to me.
I've got some of that stuff. It's really good looking stuff.
It is good looking.
That Candy Apple Metallic Red is badass too. That's really good filament.
I don't have any of that.
They got to send you some.
I'm not Chris Riley. Well, Tinkers isn't in here. I'd be like, Tinkers, man, where's my Candy Apple Red stuff?
Yeah.
Alien 3D asks, what tips do you have for someone new getting into the 3D printing to turn it into a business type thing?
Ooh, it's hard. That's the first thing I'll say. I've dabbled in my own business and doing side jobs over the years, computer repair, just a handful of things here and there, making side money off of my own business, web development, things like that. One thing I didn't want to do in 3D printing was try to make it a business, because I enjoy it so much that I don't want it to be a job for me. I don't want it to get difficult. Now, YouTube creation does kind of become a business at some point. It becomes work. Sometimes you say, man, I don't want to do that. I don't feel like making videos, which you don't have to. That's the great thing about YouTube. If you don't want to continue, then nobody's, people might be upset they don't see your videos, but there's nothing saying you have to do it. When you get things into a business, that's always the burden on my shoulders that I think about. It's like, well, if I start this, then I have to keep going. Mm-hmm. I have to support these people that rely on me as 3D printing. So unfortunately, I've stayed out of that realm for a reason. So I really can't help you with how to start that business. But there are a lot of people that do. So I'm sure there's some other people that have a better idea than I do.
I hear you. All right. So John from You Do It. Now this is going to be our last question of the day. All right. And we can get your last thoughts, and we can say, all these other things. But how about the new Inland? Have you tried the new Inland filament?
I have some rolls of it right over here. I have not yet printed with it. I've noticed, though, that they are not the same colors. And that's exactly why I mentioned that. I have ordered some. I had quite a bit, and then I ordered some recently, and I got mixed old and new. So some of the newer stuff, and they are not the same shade. So I'm either going to have to start new projects and figure out the new stuff, or just live with the different colored on the same model. So no, but I have not printed with it yet. I will shortly.
Okay, well, Colin asked you, why do you use Inland? But I think you answered that a while ago, because it's readily available to you.
I think Colin is expressing his disgust why Inland changed.
Oh, I got you. Why Inland? Why? Okay, I get it now. Okay. All right. I thought you answered that a while ago about the why Inland part. I figured Colin would know. But, okay. So, all right, guys. So, if you're not subscribed to Chris Riley, okay, go to his channel, and apparently my standard upload isn't the same description that's in my live event thing, so it doesn't have the link and stuff that I put in there for Chris's channel. I will remedy that on the description after we get done. I will be popping into Discord after the broadcast. I don't know if Chris is available to do so or not for a few more minutes, but we've come to the end. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, then please do. Like the video, give it a thumbs up, because Chris has been a fantastic guest on the show, and he's been a great sport. John from You Do It said he's going to live stream when I finish, so if y'all want to go out and watch John, then go do that. But I am going to put the links to Chris's channel down there. And y'all know that as far as it goes, this is Kuntry 3D. This has been Live with Chris Riley, and we'll see you on the next one.
Yep. Thanks, everyone.